I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Jocelyn.
From Fat Quarter Shop.
And it's so Emma.
And we're here to talk about the Deck-ade the Halls Quilt Along. 10 fabrics, 10 blocks, 10 years. And today we're going to talk about download number 9. And remember, you can download this on our website at fatquartershop.com. And this time we're going to talk about the Cozy Cocoa Cups. And Jocelyn's going to talk to you about the inspiration for this.
So to me, winter, my favorite part of winter is sitting down with family with some hot cups of cocoa. And I particularly love this block just because I don't think I've seen anything like it. I really wanted to do a striped effect on this mug right here, so we found a really clever way to do it. And then the star block, I wanted to just pull out the theme from the ornaments over here and pull them down to this mug to give it kind of a nice tie-in. So you have a variety of mugs, and the way we've arranged them, it kind of draws your eye down to the corner and back around the quilt. When you finish this block set, please add them to our Flickr set. We love what you've been doing on Flickr, and we want to see the whole quilt finished. So, yes.
Yeah, and we wanted to tell you this is going to be a two-part series. The first part, we're going to make our striped mug, and our second part, we're going to show you the star mug. So let's get to sewing. So now we're ready to make our first block, which is the striped mug block, and this is the block. And it is super easy. All it is using corner squares and flipping open, and a very unique technique that Jocelyn came up with. And today, for our basic supplies, we're going to use row marking pins that we talk about, where we mark all of our fabric after it's cut. We're going to use small omni-grid scissors for clipping your blocks, our purple Collins vanishing marker, our 1/2 inch by 12 inch ruler that we're going to use to mark the back of our squares, and our big scissors to trim our corner squares. So if you look on page 3 of our free pattern that you can download on our website, you're going to take one fabric L rectangle, which is here, and one fabric P rectangle, and on the back side of the P rectangle you're going to draw a line from corner to corner with your vanishing marker. You're going to put it on one corner of your square, and you're going to pin. I forgot about my pins. These are our flower head pins, and then we're going to just sew directly on the line from corner to corner. And again, I'm going to stitch with a 2.0 stitch length, and I'm not going to back stitch. And you're going to want to use 100% cotton thread. And now we're going to cut a 1/4 inch away, approximately. It doesn't have to be exact. So we've cut that, and our next step is going to be to iron this piece. So let's iron. So now we're going to set the seam by just pushing down on the seam. That makes it really flat and just kind of sets your stitches into the fabric. We're just going to flip it open and gently press. So now we're going to continue. We're going to do the same exact technique with the fabric end square. We're going to draw on the back. You're going to want to put on the red side, not the blue side. I always pin twice. So we've got that on there, and we're going to sew directly on the line just like we did before. So now we've sewn our line. We're going to trim a 1/4 inch away from the edge. I use a bucket on my sewing table that I just throw my scraps in. And again, set your seam and press open. Just like that. So we did our first set, which was the M, O, and Q squares. And I went ahead and did the next step, which is O, M, and Q. And you can follow the instructions from our free pattern that's online. And what you're going to want to do is take the back side of your first square that's blue, primarily blue, and you're going to draw a line from corner to corner, perpendicular, with your lines for your red, and it's going to look like this. What you're going to do is you're going to layer right sides together where your colored triangles touch. And you're going to pin, and you're going to just sew directly on the line that you drew. So you can see one side doesn't have any sewing and the other side has both with sewing segments. That's how you know you're doing it right, and we're just going to sew directly on the line. And on the side that's plain, that doesn't have any sewing in it, you're going to cut that 1/4 inch off with sharp scissors. And again, it does not have to be exact. And we're going to just set our seam again and gently press open. And you can see our striped cocoa cup is coming right along. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this down to 5.5 by 7.5. So I'm going to get a ruler, and we're going to cut 5.5 by 7.5 by drawing 1-inch lines on each side. So just draw it on the long side. And your center, if you measure, I just drew a line 1 inch from the side and 1 inch from the side. And if you set your ruler down, that should measure approximately 5.5. And it does. So you're going to want to cut, and when I cut, I'm going to line up this line to the very top of the block so that you've got this lined up. I'm going to trim. I'm going to turn. Now I'm going to line up my ruler on the left end and the bottom end, and I'm going to measure 5.5. So you can see I've lined up this end, and we're going to trim. And your block should now measure 5.5 by 7.5, and now we're going to go ahead and add the handles for this block. So now we're going to make our handle, and I went ahead and I sewed an I rectangle to an S rectangle, sewed a 1/4 inch, and pressed open. So this is part of your handle. Your next part is going to be this little edge, the little corner squares. So you're going to take 2 fabric R rectangles and 2 fabric K squares. And on the back of the squares, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner, just like we've been doing. And we're going to sew these to our fabric R rectangles, different directions. So one is going to face up, and one is going to face down. And you can see the lines go different directions, and we're going to sew on the line, cut, and press. So we've cut these, and now we're going to press them open. Set your seam. I do use steam in my iron when I'm quilting and sewing. And now what we're going to do is we're going to lay these down according to the instructions. So we've got these all lined up exactly, and what I like to do is pin everything right now before we go to the ironing table. That way when you get to your, before you get to your sewing table, and that way before you get there, everything is pinned in place. And we're just going to sew those together, and we will be back when our row is done. So now we've got our handle done. We're just going to put it right next to the mug part. We're going to put them right sides together and pin. Your red should be here and your blue should be here. Just turn it over. I'm going to pin once on each end. Once in the center. So we're going to walk to our iron. We're going to set our seam again. We're going to press towards the handle. And then anytime I've finished a block, what I do is I take Faultless Premium Starch, the non-flaking brand is the kind that I use, and I spray it very heavily when the block is finished. And I'm going to let it sit there for about 2 minutes. And then I'm going to iron it finished, and that way it really gets it very crisp, and I just love ironed starched blocks. And it's just going to be very crisp. And now we're going to go on to our next video, so make sure to click on our next video to talk about our star mug block.